Shooting Star by Kitty Dale, illustrated by John Lund. Goldband. Chapter 1. Stella Smith was just like every other girl her age, except for 3 things. Number 1, Stella couldn't walk, but that didn't bother her. She loved whizzing around on her wheelchair. Number 2, Stella was adopted. But that didn't bother her either. She loved her adoptive parents, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they loved her. Number 3, Stella could fly. She loved soaring up to the ceiling and doing loop-de-loops around the lampshade. The only problem was Stella had to keep her flying secret. If anyone finds out, they might take you away, said Mr. Smith. Or experiment on you, added Mrs. Smith. Or put you in a zoo, said Mr. Smith. Stella gulped. She was very careful. Whenever she went outside and she used her wheelchair, she never flew in public, and no one suspected a thing. But Stella wished she could fly in the blue sky. Could fly in the big blue sky. One day, Stella's neighbor's cat got stuck up a tree. The tree was so tall, even the fire brigade couldn't get poor Tibbles down. Stella bit her lip. She knew she could easily fly up and rescue Tibbles, but she couldn't let anyone see her powers. Then she had an idea. Stella got out a sewing machine and her old swimsuits and leotards, and she made a disguise. She flew and rescued Tibbles, and no one knew who she really was except Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You're a superheroine, cried Mr. Smith. We always knew you were special, said Mrs. Smith with a smile. Ever since you fell from the night sky and crash-landed in our garden when you were a baby. That's it! Stella cried. I'll call myself Shooting Star! Chapter 2. After saving Tibbles, Stella got out a real taste for being a superheroine. It felt so good to fly free at last, and it felt even better to help people in need. Stella rescued cats from trees, helped people in trouble at sea, and even caught robbers. Thank you, Shooting Star, everyone called. One night, Stella was so busy saving people that she didn't get home until morning. She just had time to get changed and grab some breakfast before heading to school. But she was so tired that she fell asleep in her last lesson. Stella Smith, I hope we aren't boring you, snapped her teacher, Miss Gray. No, Stella said quickly, waking up. Then can you tell me what this is? Miss Gray held up a metal box. It's a... Stella tried to guess. A lunchbox? The rest of the class laughed. Miss Gray did not. It is a time capsule, Miss Gray said sternly. It was buried on the school field 10 years ago, and we have just dug it up. Now come over and have a look at what's inside. Everyone gathered around the time capsule. Inside, there were some old coins and notes, a class photographed a stamped envelope with a close letter about everything that happened that year. A new newspaper with the headline, "Where is Bulliger Biggins' bank booty?" Stella picked up the paper to read the whole news story. The newspaper said that a man called Bob Biggins had robbed a bank. The money he had stolen had gone missing. It was a mystery. I know if they ever found the money, Stella thought aloud. "Silence!" Miss Gray snapped, just as the bell rang. Home time! At last, Stella could go home for a nap. "Not so fast, Stella," Miss Gray said. "I'm afraid you will be staying late after your bad behavior." Stella groaned. It wasn't her fault she'd fallen asleep. She'd been up all night helping people, but she couldn't exactly explain that to Miss Gray. Chapter 3. At the rest of the class left, Miss Gray gave Stella a piece of paper. Your task is to write a description of all the contents of this box, she said. Stella sighed. Miss Gray clicked on the radio and started her making. Stella picked up the envelope, read the class letter, then frowned. The letter was written to be put in the time capsule. It had never been posted. So why did it need an envelope and a pretty stamp? Very odd. Stella moved on the photo. It was strange to think that 10 years ago these kids were sitting in the classroom. She peered at the names beneath the picture. Jenny Maroney, Fred Harris, Billy Biggins. Stella frowned. No way! Could Billy be a relative of Bob Biggins, the bank robber? Suddenly, the radio news came on. Police! Police are still searching for escaped Bulliger about Bob Biggins, the announcer said. Stella looked up sharply. Biggins escaped from jail this morning, the announcer continued. Police have warned the public not to approach him as he is a very dangerous criminal. Stella grabbed her bag with her costume inside and headed for the door. This was a job for a shooting star. Where do you think you're going? Miss Gray said crossly. To the loo? Stella said quickly. With your bag? Miss Gray said suspiciously. I'm not that silly. Finish your appointment. Stella bit her lip. She had to find a way to transform into shooting star and catch Bob Biggins before somebody got hurt. Just then the door burst open. Stella gasped. Even Miss Gray's mouth dropped open. It was Bob Biggins. Chapter 4. Get out! Miss Gray shouted. This is my classroom, and this is my robbery! Bob yelled, snatching the envelope from the time capsule. What do you want with an old envelope? Stella asked, confused. Bob laughed. It's not the old envelope I want. It's the old stamp. It's very, very old. So old, it's priceless. That's how you hid your money, Stella gasped. You used the bank money to buy a priceless stamp and got your son, Billy, to bury it in the school field. Clever girl, Bob said, grinning. When I saw on the school website that you were digging that the time capsule up today. I have had to come and get my precious stamp. You'll never get away with this, Miss Gray cried. Shooting star will stop you. Oh, be quiet, Bob said, tying her up. Stella thought hard. If she flew across the room, she could quickly grab the stamp and rescue Miss Gray, but she couldn't fly without her costume on, because her secret incidentally wouldn't be secret anymore. What would she do? Bob turned to Stella with another piece of rope, then stopped and laughed. I don't need to tie you up, he grinned. You're just a kind in a wheelchair. Stella scowled as he ran from the room, then raced after him. She just needed somewhere private to transform into shooting star, but the corridor was full of kids leaving after school clubs. Stella hurried into the loose, but there were more kids in there. Stella panicked. There was nowhere to transform. Chapter 5. Powers or no powers. Stella couldn't let Bob get away. She hurried outside and spotted him running down the busy street. Stella pulled hard, but she couldn't keep up in her wheelchair. Then Bob ran down a hill. Stella smiled. Bob sprinted as fast as he could, but Stella's wheelchair was faster. She zoomed down the hill, dodging bins and lampposts. Her wheels were as blur as she got faster and faster until finally she swerved and ran over Bob's foot. Yow! Bob yelped. He hopped around, clutching his foot, and dropped the envelope. Stella grabbed it just as the police cars reached to a stop beside them. Bob turned to run, but his foot hurt too much, and a policeman soon caught up with him. Ouch! Bob yelled. I should have tied you up, too little girl. Never underestimate a kid in a wheelchair, Stella said, grinning. This is Bad Bob's hidden money, Stella cried, handing the police the priceless stamp. Well done, the police officer said as they handcuffed Bob. Sorry we took so long. We're used to shooting star, catching bad guys for us. I wonder what she didn't come this time. Stella smiled as a secret smile. I guess sometimes you don't need superpowers to save the day. The end.